Hello everyone and welcome to Daily News Simplified, your one-stop solution to detailed analysis of current affairs which are published in the daily edition of the Hindu newspaper and are equally relevant for your UPSC preparation. Articles dated 4th of February 2023 are listed on your screen and the time stamping along with the notes in PDF and Word format are given in the description box. So let us begin with the discussion on the first article. So the first article for today's discussion was published on page 10 and talks about the importance of rural tourism and archaeological tourism in India. Now, India is a country which has a history of over 5,000 years, right from the Indus Valley civilization to the present. And most of these archaeological sites are located in the hinterlands, in the rural areas, in the countryside. Not only that, even the rural economy, rural society, rural culture are now gaining currency as a factor of tourism development in the country. Now, India wants to showcase its rural culture, archaeological tourism in the upcoming G20 meeting where India is going to be the host for the first time. Now, it is going to be the first tourism working group meeting of G20 and India is going to host it. So India is going to look into the promotion of its rural and archaeological heritage sites across the nation. Now, as far as relevance is concerned, so this is important for your General Studies paper 3 because tourism as an industry can be asked with respect to the questions in the Indian economy. Now, today in this discussion, we are going to look into the deeper analysis of the rural tourism, strategies, weakness, opportunities and threats in rural tourism, role played by various stakeholders, Niti Aayog's report on the rural tourism and its promotion, possible way forwards in this regard, and taking tourism as an industry and arguments for that. After the entire discussion, you will be in a position to answer this question. Rural tourism can be a game changer for the sustainable income generation in rural India. Discuss in about 250 words. So let's begin the discussion. The first is the concept of rural tourism. What is actually called as rural tourism? Now, rural tourism, according to Niti Aayog, is any form of tourism where we try to showcase the rural life, their art, their culture, and the heritage over particular locations. For example, if we are talking about, let's say, the Varli art in the villages of Maharashtra or Gujarat, then we are saying that we are promoting rural tourism. If we are taking the foreign tourist to showcase the natural beauty of the Himalayan region or the natural beauty of Western Ghats, then we are promoting the rural life. If we are showcasing the human art forms, if we are showcasing a particular dance form, the cultural form, the paintings, or even a local folk music, we are promoting rural life and rural tourism. But there are two conditions for that. The first is that this tourism should benefit the local community. It's not that outsiders are being relocated. We are not calling farmhouse-led economy. We're not talking about the heritage hotels in the hilly areas. They are not going to benefit the local community. We are talking about the people, the real villages, the countryside folk and folklore, which can help in promoting their economic and social life. So the first condition is that rural tourism should incorporate the benefits occurring to the local community. The second is that there should be the interaction between the tourist and the locals for more enriching tourism, their experiences and others. So here simply we mean that if outsiders are coming to reside in a particular area, let's say it is in the countryside, they are constructing a hotel, a rest house, or maybe a beach house, and then they are attracting the tourist, that is not a rural tourism. The service of tourism should be provided by the local community who have been residing and practicing certain cultural aspect, having their specific social customs, as well as having their own respective economic activities. If a particular government at the state or the central level is trying to promote that tourism, it is going to be the part of rural tourism. The objective would include overnight stays, visitors actively participating in the rural lifestyle, For example, a group of people came from Canada. They want to spend a night in the rural areas. They want to participate in the rural lifestyle, then it can be called as the tourism. But if they are bypassing, if they are just taking one rest stop in the rural area, that is not going to be the rural tourism. Then the basic components of rural tourism that are under focus to the government are agricultural tourism, cultural, natural or ecotourism, adventure, and other related activities. Now the question is that why do we need to promote rural tourism when still we are yet underdeveloped in terms of the urban tourism or the mainstream tourism? The reason is that India had over 6 lakh villages. They have their unparalleled cultural lifestyle. For example, you cannot compare the cultural lifestyle of the rural areas of Uttarakhand with that of Maharashtra or with that of the Odisha. They have their own unparalleled cultural craft, music, dance, and even their respective heritage. The expansion of road infrastructure has made it possible to reach the previously inaccessible rural areas to a larger extent. Agriculture and the farms have now been providing stay facilities. You must have heard about the homestays that are gaining more currency and becoming more popular these days. Beautiful climatic conditions and biodiversity. India is one of the nations which is under the hotspots of biodiversity. We have warm evergreen forest, we have cold tundra forest, we have alpine forest, we have dry deserts, we have coastal areas and whatnot. India has coastal, Himalayan, desert, forest, tribal areas and whatnot in terms of the countryside viewpoint. Not only that, they offers large number of opportunities not only for the people who are likely to visit these places but also the local communities. So they create jobs, they provide retention of jobs. So tourism can be a year-long activity to the rural population, especially in the times when it is lean period of the agriculture. So the period which lies between the 3 cropping seasons, let's say Zayed, Kharif or Rabi, they can easily incorporate their economic activity in line to the rural tourism. The rural tourism can also lead the way for the sustainable and responsible tourism. It can provide exploitative nature to the untapped rural culture and the heritage offerings, those areas which are still unspoiled. The areas which are in the rural tranquility can gain more opportunity in this regard. Indigenous knowledge system can get promotion. So let's say there might be some cure, there might be some local practices to cure a particular disease that might get promoted once people start arriving as a tourist. In terms of various tourist components, agriculture tourism, eco, adventure, leisure tourism, and even the marine tourism can easily be promoted. There is also a rising trend of volunteer tourism or voluntourism. Voluntourism is nothing but an activity when the tourists who are arriving to a particular location try to incorporate themselves in certain volunteer activities. Let's say there's a group of people who are now visiting a particular village, but after a while they start volunteering to a certain extent under certain activities. Let's say they have started cooperating with the government authorities for door-to-door promotion of vaccination. So this is what we call as volunteer tourism. It is now gaining currency in most of the African nations. India is also looking more towards exploring this voluntourism. And the last one is, there is a great opportunity to create a rural tourism circuit. You must have heard about the schemes like Prasad, you must have heard about the schemes like Hriday, where government is looking into the promotion of various components of tourism. In that, one of the possibilities could be the rural tourism, where rural areas can be clubbed into various circuits based on their respective activities. For example, there could be certain areas or the rural areas where the wall art or the murals are more important. There might be other areas where the handicrafts are more important. So these rural tourism can well be promoted as a circuits, as a clusters. Now the point is, despite wide level of opportunities available to the Indian rural sector for the development of tourism, there are certain weaknesses. The first and the foremost is that there is lack of prioritization for the rural tourism at state and the national level. Most of the government in the past have been more or less reluctant in order to look rural areas as a potential place to promote tourism. Most of the time, the policies at center and even at the state level have been targeting more towards the promotion of one single activity, and which is the agricultural promotion. At max, they might shift toward the MSME, cottage industries, or even the service sector. But more or less, it has been focusing towards the economic development with the conventional activities rather than the tourism. The second is that there is poor profiling of the rural product offering. Still, people are unaware that which particular rural area is offering what kind of quality. What cultural aspect do they have? If they have any traditional knowledge, is it worth adopting? Because they are not there available in the public platform. They are not available on the digital platforms, hence they lack offering. This aspect of tourism does not have supporting infrastructure, including the ICTs. So, how many rural areas are actually promoting themselves as a center for tourism through the digital platform? Rural areas don't have their websites, they don't have the digital footprint in terms of what they have to offer to the tourist. These rural areas also lack the awareness and the skills. There are hardly any people who know about how to be a good guide, how to attract tourists, and how to provide them the best tourism services. There's a poor resource allocation, lack of inclusive planning, as well as a community involvement in terms of Panchayati Raj institution. Even there is a poor coordination among the tourism initiative as well. Even if you go by the basic circuits allocation under various government schemes, you will really find that the tourism holds a good position in their overall policy making. Even if we are talking about, let's say, Buddha circuit or Ambedkar circuit, we don't find the contribution of the rural areas in those circuits. There is also a capacity gap at the Panchayati Raj institutions. There's a poor service delivery and lack of implementation. Even if, for instance, a Panchayati Raj institution or a panchayat makes a particular plan for the development of tourism in those areas, even if that comes true, it is not easy for the institutions to provide the services at per the quality of what has been offered in the urban counterparts. There's an unavailability of data statics. We don't know how many rural areas are willing to offer tourism as a mainstream economic activity. There's an environmental degradation, as we have recently seen in the case of Uttarakhand, where we are witnessing the landslides. And lastly, there are socio-cultural influences which are impacting the overall transition, sharing of ideas between the outsiders and the local communities. Most of the village are still living in the social strata where they are not open enough, not independent enough, not at an experimental stage to provide the outsiders to come and stay for a smaller period of time. Now, going through these important opportunities and the weaknesses, there are certain measures that government and various stakeholders can adopt in order to provide basic push or a thrust to the rural tourism. Most of these ideas are given in one of the national strategy and the roadmap for the development of rural tourism in India. This report was published by Niti Aayog and it has following important way forward. The first one is that the ministries such as environment can provide guidance and the direction for the utilization of the natural resources for sustainable and responsive tourism development in rural areas. Now, what does it mean? It clearly states that natural resources should be utilized in the judicious manner. See, promotion of rural tourism does not mean that we are going to exhaust the existing resources of a particular village. Let's say a particular village is involved in the mahua production. It is an important drink. It is also based on the forest produce. So promotion of rural tourism does not mean that we are going to make mahua as an important product for the rural economy without which nothing can happen. Exhaustion of the resources should not be there. But here expert advice coming from the environmental ministry can play a vital role. And this vital role can help the development of rural tourism in a longer period of time. Then comes the collective effort of panchayats and the Gram Sabha. So panchayat can come up with plans and they can discuss it with Gram Sabha. So it is a multi-stakeholder approach. It is a bottoms-up approach and it is based on the consensus. Secondly, it is also going to help each and every member of the panchayat. States specific policies can be developed to promote the rural tourism. For example, the policies made by, let's say, the state of Punjab may not be suitable for the state of Sikkim. So they should come up with their own specific policies, that what are the factors, what are the components on which they need to develop the rural tourism. Then comes that the NGOs or the non-governmental organizations can play a vital role in the promotion of rural tourism through creating a contact between the rural folk and the tourist. And lastly, there should be a development of rural tourist circuits or the clusters at India level. Now, apart from the Niti Aayog report, there are certain other measures. First of all is the revenue sharing model. Now, what does that mean? Revenue sharing model means that the Panchayat Raj institutions can collaborate with, let's say, any particular hospitality component, let's say a particular hotel chain, to provide basic amenities. They can also collaborate with certain transport agencies, let's say a cab service, and together they can provide the service delivery to the people. Through this, they can earn the revenue and they can share it with respect to the contribution they are making into the revenue generation. The second is that we need to reskill and skill. We need to skill rural youth and women as a tourist guide, because they need to be guided towards how they need to perform their activities, how they need to interact with the outsiders, what services they can provide, and how they can make the staying experience the best one for the incoming tourist. We also need to go through the digital marketing of specific products of a particular village. Here, digital technology is going to play a vital role. We can provide branding to a particular product given by a village. We can also provide village level websites for tourists to arrive there directly without any middleman. We also need to link the rural tourism to the poverty alleviation and the employment generation program. Why can't rural tourism be one of the important factors of sustainable income development in India? This should be looked into. The best practices, if we need to talk about, is with respect to the National Mission on Clean Ganga, where government has prepared a detailed document for intangible cultural heritage, respective architectural heritage, as well as the natural heritage in a corridor which is 5 km in width on the either side of Ganga. And all these small villages are going to be developed through this information, and this information will be made public. Everyone going through that route can go through the information that what village in the nearby area in a radius of 5 km provides what kind of tourist services. And the second important best practices is that recently the state of Rajasthan has created a status of industry level or an industry level status to the tourism activity. Now, the second best practice is the one which we are going to look into detail. And after that, we are going to look into the practice question. What is industry status? The term industry status has not been defined specifically in any of the law in India. So please be aware of that. Secondly, the status simply means that a particular sector will be included in a particular state's or central's industrial policy. So when we are saying that tourism will now be part of industry in Rajasthan, which simply means that in future, whenever Rajasthan will create any industrial policy, will all automatically include the tourism sector, or the policies which have been created, the formulations which have been created in the past with respect to the industrial sector will now be applicable to the tourism also. The same thing was awarded by the state of Uttar Pradesh to the warehousing and the logistics sector. The state of Manipur has already accorded the same status of industry to the sector of sports. Now, what are the basic benefits? Why Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Manipur are giving such status to these sectors? The first thing is that if such sectors are brought in the important industrial segment, they will get the benefit in the fall of electricity tariff because industries are provided lower electricity tariff. They will also get the benefits of MSME. They will have better tax policies. So service sector is taxed more, industrial sector is taxed less. They will have special schemes, subsidies based on their specific demands and requirements. They will have benefit of legal and procedural benefits such as capital and interest subsidy will now be available to the tourist destinations. They will have single window fast clearance for setting up the, let's say, hotels, restaurants. They will have far better licenses. They will have more exemptions, relaxations from the stamp duty, tariffs and other duties. Let's say there's a restaurant which wants to import a very fancy, let's say, a chandelier from outside India. So they will get some benefits on the tariffs as well. Now they will be in a position to refinance their important establishments such as hotels, restaurants, which were under debt. So they are now in the industrial category. They will have far better provisions to finance their projects. They will also get easy facilities on foreign direct investment, and they will be now more organized and can follow better regulatory provisions. Now coming to the practice question. The question says rural tourism could be a game changer. Now try to identify that how can this be a game changer with respect to the sustainable income generation. So over here you at least try to write 7 to 8 points arguing that how it can provide a long-term income generation to the rural economy in India. Now as the question says discuss, you can also provide few limitations and end the question with respect to the some way forwards or a good suitable conclusion. With this discussion in place, let us now move to the next article for the day. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared on the business page and talks about the status of overall household saving in the country. Now, the Revenue Secretary on the behalf of Ministry of Finance has commented that government in the recent budget has gone with exemption-less tax regime. That is, they are not providing more exemptions to the people who are earning or providing the income tax. And because of this, the overall savings are not going to be impacted as the household savings are only 1/6 of the total saving of the nation. Now, from the perspective of UPSC examination, we are not going to look into the details of data. What we are going to look into the important trends which might be asked in the prelim examination, and also the potential of savings in the countries like India and what are the basic limitations faced by India. In 2017 means examination, UPSC has asked questions with respect to saving rate in India, that how it is most effective in terms of India's potential growth. Apart from that, they also asked about the other factors for the growth potential. Now after this discussion, you will be in a position to answer the first part of this question. Now before venturing into the topic, we should be in a position to understand that why we are saying that if more tax exemptions are not provided, it is not a concern. See, more tax exemptions provided to the household sector in particular budget means that more avenues will be provided to the household sector to save in stable saving instrument. Now understand this. There is a scheme with the term Public Provident Fund. Now let's say government says that all the people who are earning up to or equal to 5 lakh per annum, if invest X amount of money to the PPF, will get tax benefit. Now what does this mean? This means that all those people who are earning less than 5 lakh are going to invest more in the PPF, ultimately leading to more saving. Now we should be happy to see this. But what if the savings in the overall economy is already low from the household sector? So then it is not a good sign, it is not a bad sign. And that is the reason why the finance ministry is not worried on the positive and even on the negative side of less saving generation from the tax saving schemes. Today we are going to look into this topic from the relevance of GS paper 3 from the term economic growth and development. Now what is the saving structure in India? According to the RBI, National Statistical Organization, as well as the economic survey in the past 3 years, plus the data given by Ministry of Finance, the following are the major trends of the saving in the country. First of all, the saving rate, that is the percentage of money in the GDP coming from saving, is 27 to 30%. It is low. It should be around 35% for long-term sustainable and high growth rate. As far as physical to financial instruments are concerned, so in terms of the total saving, 47% comes from the physical saving. Now, for those who do not understand the physical saving, please see this through the instruments like housing. So a person putting money in buying a house, a person saving money in terms of gold, a person saving money just through the currency at their respective homes. So these are the part of physical. As far as financial instruments are concerned, so this could be your mutual funds, this could be in public provident fund, this could be in any other bond issued by the government, this could be in the saving account or a fixed deposit in the bank. So these are the two forms of saving that we normally see. And these savings are not only limited to the household sector. Even the companies, the corporate sector, government itself go for the savings. Now 47% comes from the physical savings and rest 53 comes from the mutual funds and other financial instruments. But this has changed only after the COVID. Previously, physical savings were more with the people rather than the financial saving. But this has changed. Why? Now, I want all of you who are going through this video to answer in the comment box why physical savings are reducing and why financial instruments are more preferred after COVID. The third statement says that the total savings stands around 57% in a cumulative term of the GDP. Now, 57 is cumulative. Cumulative means what has been aggregated, what we have collected in the last 5 to 10 years. That is cumulative. Do not get confused this 57 with the 27 in the first statement. 27 is the 1 year status. 57 is the cumulative. It's the addition in the past many years. So it is 57% to the GDP. The highest increase in the saving instrument or the investment instrument is the mutual funds and the bonds. Now through this you can easily justify the second statement that the financial instrument and the contribution has increased. As far as distribution of household saving is concerned, so according to the data provided by the government, overall household saving contribute around 10 to 12% to the overall GDP in terms of savings. This is divided into three: physical assets like house and others, financial instruments, and precious metals like gold and silver. In this, the financial instruments are further divided into deposits, certificates, and the provident fund, and they are in the decreasing order. So the highest share of household saving in terms of financial instrument falls under the deposits, then certificates, and lastly the provident fund. Most of the provident fund even comes from the organized sector, which is a very small percentage of people. Even the deposits, the share comes with NBFC deposit, that is non-banking finance companies, bank deposits, post office, and others. Others could be any other particular deposit scheme by the government. In terms of certificates, we have many examples, but I have just given you two. The first is the National Savings Certificates and the second is Kisan Vikas Patra. In terms of bank deposit, demand deposit and fixed deposits are the most preferred one, and among the entire household saving, the first rank is held by the fixed deposit. It is the most preferred financial instrument used by the household sector in India. Why? For two reasons. First is that it provides reasonable interest rate around 6 to 8% for a long period of time, and secondly, it is a very stable returns given to a particular saving instrument. Now, if you can see from this table, as it has been observed, that the share of overall physical asset is falling down. It is from 60% to 47%. Now, as far as household distribution by income is concerned, so in 2012 financial year, as you can see, there were only 1% out of 25 crore families who were earning more than 10 lakh rupees. And they were falling in that particular tax bracket. See why we are looking at this table. We are looking at this table to see that how many people are actually generating tax income for India. So just 1% of them are 10 lakh and above. This means the high level of taxation, that is 20%, 30%, even the surcharges, is paid by just 1% of the population, and that too goes with the tax evasion. In 2022, this ratio increased to 3%, that is 200% increase in the overall rate in the last 10 years. And still, there is a very small section of population that is eligible for the high taxation on income. This proves that the high income worth earning people in the country are paying very limited taxation, and it is the middle class which has increased drastically is liable to pay more, and this middle class income group falls between 2 lakh to 10 lakh, and they are the actual saving generator. They are the actual component of household saving in India. They are the actual backbone of household saving provider in the countries like India, that is the developing nation. Now, when it comes to the critical analysis for the mains examination, now these are the important benefits of high saving in the country. The first is that it provides ample money for the capital formation investment. Whatever money that you invest, let's say in the fixed deposit of a bank, is being transferred as the money for investment. So the money that you are paying, money you are investing or saving for the fixed deposit is being transferred for the capital formation as a loan given by a bank to a particular entity. The second is that it strengthens the financial system and specifically the banking sector. Banking sector will now not be required to raise money from outsiders. They are not required to borrow money from the government at a higher interest rate. So they can get money from the small saving deposits. It fill up two gaps: internal gap, investment minus saving, and external gap, export minus import. Countries like India require money. More saving means more investment. More saving and more investment also proves that we are saving more, that is, we are importing less. A person who saves more will import less from outside. Less import means more exports, and the gap will fill up. It provides financial prudence to the households. For example, the fixed deposit. Fixed deposit makes people to save more for their household and long-term expenditure. It meets the budget requirement on capital spendings. The government need money for its entire year expenditure, and instruments like National Savings Certificate and many other saving schemes help the government to raise money to spend throughout the year. It helps in fighting the business cycle, that is recession and the depression. So let's say people have more money and RBI through the banking system has increased the rate of interest. More saving will provide more money to the banking sector. Banking sector can give more loans to the business enterprises and they can start back on the high income track. And lastly, it gives assured returns to the low income group. Here also I would like to give you the example of fixed deposits because they provide assured returns. But despite all these benefits of the higher saving, India faces numerous issues in generating the high saving rate, which is close to 33 to 35% to the GDP. Why India is not there yet? The first issue is that people don't have a good level of financial literacy. We don't have chartered accountants in each and every household. We don't have people who know basics about the different saving instruments provided by the government. Even if they go above the exemption in the taxable income, they don't know where they should invest more. They are forced into the saving instruments. Government is providing lucrative investment opportunities in particular saving instrument. The moment government say that a particular level of income people are going to save more, they can get more exemption, means that they are just forcing the people to save more. Interest rates and saving instruments are not competitive in India. Higher rates are paid to the people to make it more lucrative, which puts burden on the future generation. Let's say the government is saying that they are going to pay 8% interest rate on a particular saving instrument, let's say the Provident Fund. Now, if government is planning to provide higher level of interest rate to a particular saving instrument, it simply means that 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, when that instrument is going to mature, government is going to pay money back to the previous generation, thereby putting more tax burden on that future generation. India's financial markets are poorly developed. Still, the larger amount of money is available with that of the public sector bank, which have the ownership by the government. So the competitiveness is still low. There are very limited number of the instruments which are available in the market for the saving schemes. Government backed instruments make it less market oriented, because as government is the largest entity in the financial market, it can charge, it can provide any interest rate they want to, irrespective of the demand and supply of money, and this makes it less a market oriented object. Savings should be more market oriented. A bank, an entity, an organization, NBFC which want to attract more consumers should pay more interest. The largest section of India's population is out of the income tax bracket, as we have seen in the table discussed previously, where we found out that in the year 2022, 65% of the people are earning even below 2 lakh annually. So they are out of the tax bracket. Hence, even if they get any kind of exemptions, that is not going to be beneficial for the saving schemes. Now, with this discussion, please let us now move to the next article for the day. This article of the Hindu newspaper appeared on page 10 and talks about the Supreme Court's refusal to refer conversion issues to the Law Commission. Now, conversion issue has already been discussed in one of the DNS. Today, we are going to look into the details of Law Commission. Now, Law Commission is an ad hoc body. It is not a permanent body, does not have a permanent status. It is a non-statutory body, that is, it is not backed by any law of the parliament. It is just an advisory body, hence whatever it advises, it's not mandatory for the government to adopt. India's first Law Commission was established in 1834 under the Charter Act of 1833, and it was chaired by Lord Macaulay, who was also the law member to the Council to the Governor General. The first Law Commission of Independent India was created in 1955. As far as structure is concerned, so the chairman is usually a retired judge of the Supreme Court. As it is a law commission, a person belonging to the law field is required. Or it could also be the Chief Justice of a High Court. It has some ex officio members who are the law and legislative secretaries belonging to the Law Ministry. Together, all of these makes the structure of Law Commission of India. It performs the functions on the reference made by the central government, or can also perform certain functions on suo motu. But whatever it functions, all the suggestions, recommendations provided by the Law Commission will only be on the advisory and not mandatory. So as far as role of Law Commission is concerned, so it can review or repeal or can appeal the government to repeal or remove the obsolete laws. The laws which are no longer in relevance can be repealed, can be provided as a recommendation. Laws which are not in harmony with the existing climate of economic liberalization can be repealed, and it can also suggest certain measures for the quick redressal of the citizen grievances in the field of law. As far as law and poverty is concerned, so it can examine the law which affects the poor. It can also carry out the post-audit of socio-economic legislations. It can also harness law to serve the poor. As far as administration of justice is concerned, so on this matter, it can help in the elimination of delays. It can call for the speedy clearances of certain cases. It can also ask for quick and economic disposal of the cases without affecting the cardinal principle of justice and fairness. The other areas of research and development of LCI could be globalization, food security, unemployment. It can also recommend measures for the protection of interest of the marginalized section. It can provide research for the foreign countries for any referred matter by the government. It can also examine the laws to promote the gender equity and also for the implementation of DPSP. For example, tomorrow if government wants to implement the Uniform Civil Code, in that manner, Law Commission can provide suggestive measures to the government. However, government has full authority to implement that or not. And government, even after rejecting the recommendation, is not liable to justify the decision in the parliament. With this basic discussion on the Law Commission of India, let us now move to the last article for the day. Now, the last article for today's discussion was appeared on page 8, where government has clearly stated that they are going to extend the deadline for the solar related scheme PM KUSUM. The Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, be aware of the ministries with respect to the various government schemes. So this ministry has extended Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Utthan Mahabhiyan, and this scheme is going to be extended till 2026. Under this scheme, there is an installation of solar pumps as well as a grid connection along with the generation of renewable power in the countryside or the rural areas. The target of the scheme was to achieve 25.75 gigawatt of power through the solar means by the year 2022. However, this has not been achieved. From the perspective of UPSC examination, this article is important under various government schemes asked in the prelims and the mains examination. And even in the mains examination, it is important for your GS paper 2 for the governance and GS paper 3 under the infrastructure and energy section. As far as this scheme is concerned, so it has three components, and please be aware of all these three components. They are very important. The first component is the grounded mounted grid connected renewable power plants with an individual size of 2 megawatt. So these are going to be small power plants. Decentralized means that they will be limited to a particular farm. Let's say there's a parcel of land with a size of 5 acres. Now this parcel of land can be used for the development of this small grid connected renewable power plant. So that parcel of land will be producing energy or power, and that would be connected to a respective grid or power stations. The second component is the stand-alone solar powered agricultural pumps. These are going to be smaller pumps that will be utilized by a particular farmer on a particular farmland. The third is the solarization of 10 lakh grid connected agricultural pumps with individual pump capacity of 7.5 horsepower. The third component is the solarization of the existing pumps, which are the agricultural pumps. So these pumps which are as of now used is not going to use the conventional power. They are going to use the solar power. So the first component says create small power plants. The second says provide solar power pumps. The third says that existing agriculture pumps should be using the solar power. As far as key features of the scheme is concerned, so it includes the decentralization of solar power because there's a loss of power once it is transferred from the large solar power plants to the agriculture field. So that loss of power will be removed. The second is it provides the financial support in terms of the subsidies, loan and the tax benefit to the farmer. It provides technical support, how to use the design, how to install the solar power plants and how to maintain them in long term. It also provides the capacity building and the skill development to the farmers in order to have the new technologies and the best practices. It promotes the entrepreneurship, so small shops could be put up. People can learn to install power plant, how to set up, how to operate. There might be certain people who might say small solar panels. There is a grid connectivity which will allow farmer to sell the excess power. Let's say the requirement of the farmer is 100 units per day, but the farmer is producing 500 units using their solar power plant. So the excess of 400 units could be sold in the open market through the grid connection. And lastly, this selling of power will help the farmer to increase their income. And this income will also be increased with the saving that farmer is going to incur in the long term because solar power is cheaper than the conventional power. The issues, however, exist with this scheme. First, lack of awareness. There are very few farmers who know about this scheme and how to operate this through all the measures. There are technical challenges. Farmers are not aware how to utilize these things. There is lack of financing option because it is not going to be provided free of cost to all the farmers. They have to arrange some level of finance at their own. There are bureaucratic hurdles for the farmers. They have to navigate to the ministries. They are getting delays in the implementation of the scheme. There's a high cost of equipments as well as the maintenance because they don't have technical skills and the resources to perform a particular task. If all these issues are resolved at the ground level, KUSUM scheme is going to be a game changer for many reasons. First, it is going to reduce down the agricultural emission of CO2 and other greenhouse gases. It is going to reduce down the loss of power or the electricity in the transmission from urban areas to the rural areas. It is going to generate long-term sustainable income to the farmer, thereby reducing the poverty in the rural sector. And lastly, it is going to provide a thrust to the renewable energy generation on which India has already made certain ambitious targets. With this discussion in place, now we have come to the end of today's Daily News Simplified. Do get connected to this channel for more such updates.